Okay, welcome to the VR template in Unreal Engine. And yeah, let's give you a little tour so you can get acclimated, experiment, do some fun stuff. Think about VR, think about how stuff works. Okay, you'll notice you see a little fuchsia circle show up. It's because I have turned on highlighting for my mouse, so you'll be able to see when I click my mouse. The downside for that is you won't know if I'm right clicking or left clicking. Here's my left click. Notice it's a fuchsia circle. And my right click. Notice it's a fuchsia circle. So I'll do my best to describe that for you. I am also showing my keyboard keys. So notice I just hit the W key. I just hit the A key, the S key, and the D key. Up, down, left, and right look like this. Up, down, left, right. Yeah, so you'll see keys. Like also if I do Command Z for undo. I'm on a Mac, so that's Command Z. It'll be Control Z for you on a Windows machine. Okay, here's a little tour. So when you spawn into the game, which means where your starting point is, it's about right here. So I thought I would start us right here. And a few things. This right here that you're looking at is your viewport. It's how the game looks. This is an output log from a build and stuff I did. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. And I'm going to go ahead and close out the content browser. And this gives you maximum viewpoint. But if you want to get your content drawer back, it's down here on the left. If you want to get your output log back, it's down here on the left as well. Content drawer is super valuable. We'll talk a lot about that in future videos. Okay. The other thing to know in Unreal Engine is this right here is called your outliner. So when I say outliner, this is it up here. This right here is your details section. And this is this huge section down here. And these work together. So an item here in your outliner, the details for this item are down here. So I clicked on roof in the outliner. The roof details are all this stuff down here. So whenever you click on this, it means you're looking at the details down here. And that's a useful thing to keep in mind. Okay, a few things to try out. Let's talk about navigation first. So you really want to use a 3-button mouse or a scroll mouse, wheel mouse. With Unreal, it will make your life way, way easier. And so the first thing to do is I'm going to hold down my left click option and I'm going to I'm going to move my mouse side to side and notice how it's turning my head, essentially my head and my body in that direction. If I use the scroll wheel, I'm scrolling out, I'm scrolling in. Notice physical objects you can pass right through when you're in editor mode. So I'm just scrolling all the way through. My body just went through that table and it's going to go out the back wall. Poof! And now I'm way out, zoomed out into the outer space here, but I'm going to zoom back in. Okay. Next thing to know is you can also use your arrow key. So if I do right arrow key, notice I'm strafing to the right. And what strafing means is I'm sort of sidestepping my body to the right. Right, my head isn't pointing to the right, and then I'm moving forward. My head is still pointed straight, but I'm moving left and right. So this is a super valuable way to navigate around. Again, left to right. This is left, strafe to the right. That's spelled S-T-R-A-F-E. And if I want to move forward, I can use the forward arrow and then the back arrow. Now notice what just happened here. Did you notice how when we move forward, we're also gradually moving down and we're going to go into the floor, and then we're going to come back out. That is because our head is slightly tilted down. So if we want to change our head, I'm going to right click with my mouse and push my mouse forward, and that's going to move my head up. So if I move my head up and then hit the up arrow, notice I'm flying into the sky. And now I'm going to fly backwards with the down arrow, and I have moved down. So just a heads up, if you get discombobulated, it's probably because of that. You're moving always where your head is pointed, unless you're strafing right or left, which is this way. Okay, what else to know? So let's click on a few things and just talk about what's here. First, let's click on this left box. I just clicked on it once, single clicked on it. You'll see an orange outline here. And what happened, right, is this list over here jumped to this item, Cube 9. you'll see a lot of times there's numbers, and really this is just telling you there's been multiple things placed here. These numbers don't change or whatever, right? So if I delete 6, 7 doesn't become 6. It just goes away, poof. And when you duplicate items, it just adds a number to the end. So don't get too freaked out about this number. It's just a placeholder. Okay, so cube 9, not a lot happening. If you look at the details down here, it's just called a static mesh component. Notice when you mouse over it, it describes for you what a static mesh component is. For now, it doesn't matter too much. When you see static mesh component with nothing else on it, you know it's pretty boring. There's a little concrete block icon here to use to describe that. And this is, again, the details, right? We're in the details tab of the static mesh component, which is our generic cube. And you can do some things to modify it. For example, if you wanted to change the location, I can click and hold, and I can move my mouse left and right, and this number goes up and down. And when this number goes up and down, you'll notice the cube is moving. And it's moving as the number goes down, it's moving towards us, and as the number goes up, it's moving back. And you'll notice you see R, G, and B here. This R, G, and B is meant to tell us what axis it's moving on. And so this is the red axis, you can think of it, and it's moving forward and back. This is the green axis. It's going to move left and right. And if this moved forward and back and this moved left and right, what's your guess about what this was going to do? Which way might it go? There's a hint. Notice it's almost at 0. It's essentially at 0. So if it's at 0 and it's sitting on the floor, you have a strong guess that this is the up and down. And it sure is. Here's the up, here's the down. It's now pushed into the floor. Another thing to notice, I'm going to go ahead and set that back to 0, is you see again red, green, blue. Look at these arrows. Blue, green, and red is very hard to see because it's kind of smushed in back here. But these are your directional arrows. And you'll always know blue is up and down in Unreal Engine. Some video game engines and some 3D editing engines are different. But for us, blue is up and down. Red is back and forth. And green is side to side. Now things will get a little wacky if you rotate the object and stuff, but we'll worry about that later. Okay, you have a material. Now material just means like what is this thing meant to sort of look like? And right now we just have a very boring, kind of the most boring, just white, semi-shiny material on here. And so it looks white, right? This one, if you click on it, notice it's shiny, it's reflecting light. And it's got this sort of seemingly LED glow to it, these like LED light bars. And that is because it has a different material applied to it down here. And so we'll talk about that stuff. But notice this material here is even showing you, right, it's reflective. It's got this little light reflection hit on it. Okay, another thing about this is if you've ever used the BR template, notice if you ever tried with the tennis ball gun, this item here, if you ever pick it up, and you shoot this cube, nothing happens. The cube doesn't move, it doesn't explode, it doesn't do anything. And one of the big reasons is simulate physics on this cube is turned off. There's no checkbox here. But if you click on this sphere, one of the things you notice in the BR template is when you shoot the sphere with your tennis ball gun, this sphere moves around. It reacts like it's been shot with a tennis ball. And that is because simulate physics down here has been checked. Not too hard, right? You just check simulate physics and you're going to get some sort of basic physics capabilities. And that's really useful and fun thing to do when you're building a 3D environment. Also notice enable gravity is checked here. If you unenable gravity, it's going to be sort of like you're on the moon, right? You won't have this downward force pushing on everything like we have on Earth. It'll be more like the moon. So if you shot this ball with enable gravity unchecked, this ball might bounce around in strange ways and maybe fly off or do something weird. But right now it's acting like we're on Earth, so we're going to enable gravity. Okay, let's click on one of these yellow cubes. Again, I can click on any of them. And you'll notice I'm on Grab Actor Static Mesh Physics 6. These names are really kind of wicked, right? If you wanted to get really specific, you could totally change this name. If you click and pause, you sort of click and then let off it and just wait a minute, it'll let you rename it. And you could name it something like I'll do left cube top. Now there's a little danger in that, right? If you can get very specific with these and then you move them around, you then kind of have to be always renaming them. So you'll notice this stuff is typically poorly named, and that's because unless it really matters, you may not want to name it. And you might maybe name your own stuff, but not someone else's. It gets a little complicated, but for example, right, I named this left cube top, but what if like tomorrow I decide to drag it over here? Now it's not really on the left, it's on the right, so things just get kind of messy. Um, by the way, if you want to move something back to where it was, just do Command Z or Control Z on Windows, and it'll undo your steps. And also, I'm going to do Command Z again, and you'll notice the name we gave it went back to its old name. So Control Z again on Windows or Command Z on Mac, super useful in Unreal Engine. It really helps you get back to where you started. Okay, so now these cubes, you can not only shoot them, you can pick them up. And that is because there's a grab component on there. We'll talk about grab component later, but I just wanted to show that that's why that's there. And let's do some other stuff. So let's move our way into the interior room here. And I'm going to do that by just holding down the front arrow. And you'll notice I'm like going to slam to the wall. That's fine. It's going to pass through. But again, if you want to change that, you can hold the right mouse key down, which I'm doing right now, right button, and you can fly around with your arrow keys now, and you're a little bit more nimble, right? Okay. So you'll recall in the VR template in this room, this is a fire, and the fire has a sound of a fire, and that sound of the fire stays fixed, right? If I were to move right in the VR experience, the fire sound is in my left ear, and if I move to the left, the fire sound is in my right ear. So let's take a look at that and see why that's happening. Go ahead and click on this light bulb here, actually. Now, okay, this is good. So we clicked on the light bulb. A fire is a bunch of different things, right? It is light, it is sound, and it is objects. It is logs. I clicked on the light bulb. That's not going to tell us anything about the sound. That's just the light from the fire. So click on the little speaker icon down here, and now we see the fire. And this is fire Q right here. Now, if we weren't, like, say we were annoyed and we're like, I can't click on this stupid icon because it's all blocked up, you could actually just scroll for it up here, look for the thing that is the speaker right here, and be like, that's it. So you can click on that fire Q, and you know you're selected. Also, a good hint, right, is if you look at this stuff, you're seeing audio component and stuff that's obviously sound. So good way to kind of make sure you're clicking on the right thing. Okay, so again, spatial sound. As we move around, this sound feels fixed in the 3D environment. And there's a very kind of straightforward reason why. This allows spatialization checkbox is checked. And that lets you sort of fix sound and spatialize your sound wherever you want it to be. You can do some things to get fancy with it, but for now, just know that that is the reason why. Now let's go ahead and click on the light for the fire. Again, this is sort of meant to be a point light, and a point light just means it's not generally lighting the whole thing. It's sort of like a lamp in the room. A lamp in the room is a way to think about what point lights do. They're just like a single light source. And that's what this is here. Now you can adjust your light color here. Like this is kind of fire color, right? But say you want it to be something like really kind of interesting or spooky or weird. You could like really crank this up, the blue, and maybe back it down, and now you'd have a blue fire. Pretty cool, right? We'll go back to, actually we'll do our very useful task of doing undo and get back to our orange. Now here are our logs, and these are just really basic cubes, right? Don't really look like logs. They look like just, French fries or something. And those are our logs. And, we could get more imaginative and make those look like cooler logs as we go. So that's all it takes to make a fire. You need a light, you need a sound, and you need something that looks roughly like logs. Okay. Again, like say for instance, you're like, oh, I want to modify this light. Say you turn this light up and you made it super bright, and you're like, I want to get rid of this one. Well, you could click on it here with the plus, or you could go find your other point lights down here. And here it is, point light 5. And if you weren't sure, say you're like, oh, where are my other point lights, other point lights in here? Oh, now this is interesting. There, notice in the default template here, there's point light 4 and 5, but 1, 2, and 3 seem to be missing. And it's probably because whoever made the template had them in there or made some duplicates or something and then got rid of 1, 2, and 3. So now we're stuck with 4 and 5. And that's where, if you wanted to, you could get imaginative and you could say, I'm going to make this wall light. And I'm going to make this. Sorry, I keep misclicking on this. Firelight. And that tells us now something a little bit more useful, which is this is the light for our fire. This is the light for our wall. So again, it can be useful. And in this case, I think it kind of is. These lights are very different. They're not just sort of generic duplications of the same thing. Okay, next thing we're going to do is, you see this teleport zone here? This would be a way for you to like teleport levels and that kind of thing. Let's leave that alone for now. We'll come back to it. Okay, so now that we've kind of driven around, again, I'm holding the right mouse button down and I'm driving around. Let's sort of think like an architect here, and I'm going to use the W key to move forward and around in space. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look down and I'm going to fly backwards so I can zoom out. But now the wall is in the way, right? So I'm going to look up and fly forward. And now if I look down, I'm actually in the right space. And I encourage you to sort of practice flying around. It's really a great skill to have. And the better you are at it, the faster you can sort of move at the speed of your thinking, which is what you want to be doing. And it's what birds do. So, why not practice that? That seems pretty cool. Okay, let's see. What else to know? Let's do this. I'm also zooming out with my scroll wheel. So here I'm zooming out with the scroll wheel and back in. Let's do something kind of fun. Let's take this wall. This is wall 0. Again, you could click on wall 1 and you see that's the left wall here. But let's click back on wall 0 and just hit the delete key and delete it. So we've just destroyed our wall. It's now gone. If we were to build this VR game, there would be no wall here, and the player, if they ran this way, they would fall off the edge. Exciting, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and click on the floor. Here we are. It's called floor. Not too exciting, but does it need to be? I guess not. And let's do a couple things. We can duplicate this floor. We can do it a couple ways. Go ahead and do right click and do edit. And you see duplicate here. That is Control D. And let's try it. Let me do undo to get rid of it. Command Z on the Mac. And here we go. You'll notice on my Mac, I am not getting duplicate working when I do Command Z or Control Z. That is annoying. I'm not sure why. I'll look into that. Right click on your floor, edit, duplicate. I think it's because the keyboard mapping might be messed up on the Mac. Anyway, duplicate, and now we have 2 floors. And you'll notice it pastes the new floor right on top of the old floor, and that can be a little bit confusing for people because they wonder where it went. But it is also useful, though, because your axes are sort of in position with your old piece. And so if you want to make a piece that's exactly side by side to the next one, you're already in the right place. And we're going to do that right now. So you'll see now we've got our old floor and we've got a new floor that's stacked almost exactly right on top of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to now move the floor. And we can do that a couple of ways. With floor 2, one of the things is, oh, by the way, this is a great point. You see how I was scrolled down a little bit? Often what's going to happen is you're going to want to scroll. This is really useful if you want to compare 2 things. Now notice, okay, for example, I'm scrolled down, and let's say we wanted to, what do we want to fix? Let's say we wanted to look at this enable gravity here checkbox. Now if I click floor, notice it took me to the exact same scroll position down here. So I can look at this one is checked and this one is checked without having to scroll my face off, Though it can get a little bit disorienting for a new user of Unreal Engine, because if you're in floor 1, right, and you are messing around and you're down here and now you're on floor 2 and you want to change the location of it, you're like, where is this stuff? And the answer is it's up higher. So sometimes you have to scroll your way back up to get to where you want to go. So just a heads up there that this scroll window stays in the same position when you click on something else, which is again useful. It also means it's not visually jumping around, which is nice, but it can be a little confusing to new designers. Okay, so floor 2. You'll see here we've got location settings, 3. We've got rotation settings, 3. And we've got scale settings, that's 3. And again, we've got red, green, and blue. And that red, green, and blue matches to the axes down here. The blue is our vertical axis, up and down. And so if you were to adjust the blue, it would go up and down. We've got red, which will send it back and forth or back and forward. And then the green arrow, which is left and right. You'll notice the floor is -50. And you're like, why is the floor -50? And the answer is because this floor has thickness, right? And what we want is the top of this slab to be at 0. So the bottom of the slab is at -50. And I'll show you why. So if I set this to 0, notice it just hopped up and is now up. It's like sitting on top of the floor. And we want it to be the top of this floor to be at 0. So that is why it's at -50. Okay. So not so useful, right? We have 2 floors stacked right on top of one another, not really doing us any good. And what we want to do is we want to move one of our floor items, over. That way we've got more space to run around. So there's a couple ways to do that. You could grab the arrows here, and we're going to do that. I'm going to grab this green arrow. It's really tiny, but we can do it. And now do you see this like weird flickering thing when this is happening? In 3D design, this is called z-fighting, and z-fighting just means you've got 2 objects sitting right on top of one another, and so the computer is like, well, which one do you want me to show you? Because you've got 2 sitting right on top of one another, and so it is trying to, it's sort of alternating between showing you one and the other, and that is called z-fighting. If you ever have in your game something that's looking weird, it might be because you accidentally copied and pasted 2 items on top of one another, and there's z-fighting. Okay. So here we are. We have pushed our floor over to the right, and now we're going to push it to the back. Now let's go ahead and do Command Z to undo. And now we're back where we are. And what we're going to do is, we remove this wall. So why don't we make this more space to run around? So let's pull it out this way. And now we're into a situation. You can see this happens a lot. We've hit the edge of our mouse and we can't go any further. That's annoying, right? So what you want to do is just zoom out a little bit and then pull it out some more. You can zoom out even more, pull it out some more, zoom out some more, pull it out some more. Now, you notice you're like, wow, this floor is long, and that is long. It is long because the floor didn't stop here. It stopped all the way in the back there, right? So this is a quite long piece, but that's okay. It's pretty fun. And we're almost done pulling it out. And let's do a cool thing. Let's make a little gap, and that will make the player have to jump across the gap so as to not fall, right? So we're creating our first kind of new custom obstacle here, and what we don't know is exactly how wide we can make it, but let's just take a guess and sort of see if it will work. And here we are. We just made our first obstacle, and we've extended our floor. And now I'm going to fly in. I'm just using my scroll wheel to fly in. I'm going to turn around. And now we can kind of look more closely to see how wide that jump is. And now I'm going to use the W key. I could also be using the forward and back arrows, and I'm going to look down. And now I can sort of use my head to kind of imagine like, oh, might this be jumpable? We'll find out. So that's it for now. That's a little tour of the VR template map. We're going to do lots more stuff in there. Get to a place where you have made this floor and sort of stretched it out a little bit into an exciting cavern leap and go ahead and save. You can do save current level or you can do save all. Notice here you're getting this lighting needs to be rebuilt, 15 unbuilt objects. And that is when you move stuff around in Unreal, it says like, hey, you moved a thing around, but the lighting hasn't caught up to it yet. So a way to fix that is you can go to build lighting only, It's going to compile the lighting shaders. You're going to see a message down here. It says building lighting. Okay, and your lighting has been built and this annoying error message went away. The reason I mention this is when you build your game in VR and you have that little message there, it's going to stick there in your build, so you don't want that. So make sure you build your lighting, and now also your lighting is going to look just fine. Okay, so now go ahead and um, run your Android package project, which is I set up how to do that in a previous video, so if you look back at my old videos, you can see how to do that. And go ahead and build your APK file for the Oculus Quest, sorry, the Meta Quest 2. I keep doing that. Package your project for the Meta Quest 2, run it on your headset, and run around and check out this new thing you made. Okay, this is me just trying to heave these cubes into the crevasse. Notice in VR, you don't really have a sense of how heavy an object is. So some objects like these cubes feel weird to throw because they sort of feel like they should be made out of foam, but they don't throw like they should be made out of foam. And there I am throwing a cube in the crevasse. Now check this out. Do you see that glitch really quick? I'm going to show it again. This is a different app that's built. Notice that lighting needs to be rebuilt message up there in red. That's because the lighting was not built before the app was created. So always make sure you rebuild your lighting. But see this right here? I can't move forward, but I can only move to the very far edge. Can't move forward. I can move there, but not there. There, but not there. There, but not there. There, but not any further. So I'll show you how to fix that. And I'm just going to fly around here a little bit. Oops. And so we can zoom out and see what's up. Let me fly back a little bit. Okay. So somewhere around here is where we could no longer navigate. So we could hop over into this section, but not hop over into this section. And there's a reason why. Let me zoom in a little bit more so you can see it. Do you see this wireframed line right here? This is called the NavMeshBoundsVolume. It's right here. And notice when I clicked on it, it turned orange. So the NavMeshBoundsVolume is what it says it is, even though it's really 3 words put together. It is your nav mesh, which means like where you can navigate, right? The mesh where you can navigate. The bounds volume, the bounds means the outer edge of the nav mesh, and then this is the volume, the whole thing. So if you want to keep walking out further in any direction, you need to expand your NavMeshBoundsVolume out. So to do that, you'll see you've got transform down here, and you've got scale, and you can scale it in and out. And reminder, just so the heads up, right? Blue is up. So if we wanted to like go up higher, we would need to adjust that. But if we want to be able to go back and forth further, that's the red arrow, which is very hard to see right here, or right to left, which is the green arrow. So we're going to move the red one. We're going to increase the red value. That's the red value here. And notice what's happening. When I increase it, it is moving our NavMeshBoundsVolume toward me down here. So let me fly back out a little bit so you can see it better. And actually what I'll do is I'll get sideways of it. And so you can really see it. Again, it's this orange thing here. It's our NavMeshBoundsVolume. And notice it's growing not only towards us, but away from us. So here we are, expanding it out, expanding it out, expanding it out. And now one thing about having your NavMeshBoundsVolume in right here is that means the player couldn't navigate off the edge, which is a good thing. So why don't we expand out our space a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this panel here. This is floor 2. I'm going to right click on it and duplicate it. And then I'm going to grab it and bring it out to here. And then I'm going to go back to floor 2, right click, edit, duplicate. I'm going to drag it out to here. And then I am going to, why don't we do this? Click on this floor here. Right click. Duplicate. Grab it and move it out. And then right click. Again, back on floor. Duplicate. Move it out. And I'm just rough positioning it here. We're just messing around. And then I'm going to make my life easy by flying over here. Back up a little bit. I'm going to go a little higher. And then grab this. Floor 6. We'll get fancy. Select. Let's see. Aha. Floor with no number is this one here, right? 5. Oops. 5. Sorry, is the one on the on the down left here, and 6 is the one down right. So what we can do is we can hold the control key down. Oops, my bad. You can hold the command key down. Sorry, I'm used to being on Windows. You can hold the command key down, select 4, 5. Sorry, select 5, 6, and floor, and we've got all 3, right? This lets you sort of select and unselect individual ones. Again, I'm holding down the command key. And right click, edit, duplicate. And we just duplicated all of them all at the same time, which is extremely useful. And we have a much bigger spot. And, you know, it's up to you. Why don't you, oh, we got a little bit of jiggle in here, so let's fix that. It's nice to have a kind of tidy. I'm also using the scroll wheel on the mouse to back up. Notice it's like a little bit off right here, so I'm going to click on that. Bring it in. This one wasn't placed super well because I was really far away from it. So I'm going to pop it over right there. And oop, I'm down on the floor. And you'll notice sometimes you click on it and you don't have the arrows. Sometimes you just have to zoom out to get to that edge, which is right here. There we go. And now you'll notice I have a little crack right here because I moved it over. So I'm going to grab this one, pop it over. You'll notice I also have a little crack right here. Let's see, why is that? Is it this one or that? Let's see, it's that one. Yep, I think so. Woo. And then finally, I'm going to move this one. I need to move this one forward a little bit. Yep. And then this one over. And then this one here. And that's looking pretty good. But notice our NavMeshBoundsVolume isn't quite big enough. And you definitely don't want your players to get like stuck and wonder what's happening. So let's go ahead and go back to the NavMeshBoundsVolume. And notice, you know, we're good here, but we need to push it in the green direction out this way and this way. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's check our work. Yeah, it's looking good. Just gonna fly around, make sure everything is looking okay. I've got a little glitch right here. I didn't move this forward enough. Boop. And now I probably have a problem over here. Yep. Okay. And this one's sticking out a little bit as well. There we go. Okay. Now we are looking good, and we have a full NavMeshBoundsVolume that's much bigger. So now we could do some fun stuff like duplicating these cubes. And create some cool obstacles. And let's grab one of these. Again, you can right click on the object. It's a little bit complicated to do that sometimes if your object is really small. But you don't have to select over here. You can just select right here. And why don't we select both of them? And why don't we make it a little complicated for our player? I'm using the right mouse button and the D to strafe right so we can see better. Let's make our life easy again by selecting all of them. Duplicate, bring them over, and bring them over. And then why don't we grab some of the spheres. And why don't we, this could be interesting, will the sphere fall in the crevasse? We'll let the player find out. Okay, that seems pretty good. Let's go ahead and build this project and see how it looks. But first, notice the lighting needs to be rebuilt. We have 20 unbuilt objects. That means we have 20 things that we moved around and now the shadows and stuff are off. And we do that by going to build lighting only. You can see down here the lighting is being built. And now our error message is gone. So now let's go ahead and do our build, platforms, iOS, and package project. And I'll come back when it's done. And here is the app in my applications unknown sources. And it's the top of the list up there. Those other two down there are old. And we're launching the app. And here we are. And you can see now we've got a much bigger platform to work with. And all of our old stuff. And I'm going to grab a tennis ball gun because I want to see if I can shoot one of these spheres into the crevasse. I think I should be able to. Yes, the gap big enough? It is. Awesome. Okay, so now your next test is will shooting the sphere, if you shoot the sphere now, will it roll off the edge or will it stop? My guess is it's going to roll off the edge. It will roll off the edge. And the reason to roll off the edge is the nav mesh is for the player, not for objects. And here it goes. And it's gone. And notice what happened to us. If we get to the edge, we get reset back to the spawn spot, which can be a little annoying. Some people would rather just stop and not respawn back to where they were, which you could fix. But for now, it's fine. And also go ahead and cruise around your new terrain, walk the perimeter, make sure everything's looking good. You have your intentional crevasse there. Make sure you don't have any cracks or anything weird in your space. And you are now building out a much bigger platform with some obstacles. And that's it. Throw a cube in jubilation. There we go. You did it.